people in a real town, in a real city. Welcome to Burlington.
My name is Jane Sellers. I was born and raised in Alamance County, and I grew up in Pleasant Grove. I just think my dad was brilliant in this way that he wanted us to know our history. So every Sunday after church, we would get in the car and he would take us around and tell us about how life was for them growing up and show us places, this place and that place. So I felt very fortunate to be able to have that experience, because that was a weekly thing. That was the life of a black family, you know. Sundays we were all going to go to grandma's after church, you know. Visiting was a big thing, and my dad would do, and he would load us all up in the car and take us around, and we would visit family. We'd always end up, the last stop was going to be at grandma's, because that's where we were going to be there for the duration. But he would take us around and point out places where him and my mom grew up and tell us about who was this person and who was that person and all that. So I was always fascinated with that. Being the youngest of three, I think I was the only one that was in, my other sisters could care less. But I just enjoyed that. That was truly my highlight of growing up. Sitting down talking to my older relatives, and I was always fascinated. What was life like? What was life like for you all? What kind of toys did you all play with? You know, what did y'all do for fun? That was me growing up. I had a really good high school experience, middle school. I mean, I was very active in school. Cheerleader, bus driver, on many organizations. I secretary of a student body one year. I mean, you name it, I was very active in school. I enjoyed the years of cheering, you know, meeting people and having fun. That was, I enjoyed driving the school bus. I enjoyed fellowshipping with my friends. We were able to bring our own creativity too, so we were able to be ourselves even though during those times there could only be 4 blacks on our cheerleading squad. We had 12 cheerleaders, and only 4 of them could be black. There was 14 that made it, 12 actual cheerleaders, 4 black, and 2 alternates, 1 being black and 1 white. And that's because if a black student, something happened and they couldn't finish out their year, then the black alternate would take over the black, same thing as the white. But that's the way it was. I graduated in '87, but then like I said, I got married in '87. And I also enrolled at Alamance Community College at '87, but I had to have an income. So by not going straight into a university, moving away from home and staying on a campus and getting married, I had to go to work. So I worked in the textiles. I folded socks for many of the textile companies here in Burlington, and I hated it. Went to work every day hating it, which was a great thing because it sparked me to like, hey, this is not where I'm going to stay. This is temporary. Every day it was that way, because I had to make myself get up, had to drag myself into this place, and then when it was time to go home at 3 o'clock, I was running out the door. So, but that was part of my motivation. It's kind of like, I would say, stepping stones of the direction. You know, you're on a road and you're not sure which way you're going. You know, you have an end point. I knew what I wanted my finish to look like, the end. I knew what the end result, and the end result for me as it relates to my children is to see them to be successful, productive citizens. And education was a very important thing for me and my family and my household. So making sure that they were well-rounded in that area, and not just them, but the company that they keep, because you become like the 5 people you hang around the most. And I always told them that, so I was very mindful of the people that was around them. In 2005, I started an organization called Teens Destined to Succeed Outreach Incorporated. And I work with youth from Alamance County, Guilford, Rockingham counties, and Danville, Virginia. And I work with these youth it was over 100. Started out with 25 in my garage out in the country. And it ended up to be over 100 youth serving these areas. Having the Teens Destined to Succeed, bringing their group of friends into the mix, helping them reach their goals. Some didn't even have any goals, help them establish their goals so that they then had an end point to work out. And so it became more like, for me, is, not just with my children now, I'm having all of these children. And it was great because I knew who they was hanging around. I knew their parents knew me, and I thank God to this day, we didn't have not one of those 100 youth drop out of school. Okay, so with the outreach, Teens Destined to Succeed, I followed kind of like what my dad did. Every Sunday after church, he would take us and tell us our history. So I incorporated that into what we were doing. But I took the youth to centers all across North Carolina, even in the state of Georgia, to the King Center. Always wanting them to know their history. But every year, Black History Month, we was always talking about people all across the country. And I knew personally of people that lived and walked on the same grounds that we walk on every day that these youth didn't have any idea about. So a few years ago, about 3 years ago, I was right here on Rawhart Street. My brother from another mother purchased a building, and I'm standing out there and I'm just looking at it. And I remember what Rawhart Street was like when I was growing up. I mean, it was a thriving Black community. You had the barbershop, you had all these restaurants, you had all of this over here, and it was active all the time. People always walking the street, Rawhart Street. I was standing there and I was reminiscing about all this, and I was like, you know what? Now, to look on Rawhart Street right now, you would not even know all of that stuff that was there. You would not have an idea about, even a portion of the Black Wall Street office was right there off Apple Street, and Dr. Lee Schuer's office, and they don't know all of this. And I was sitting here thinking, even out in Pleasant Grove where I grew up, Miss Gilberta Mitchell, who was on the front line with helping with Dr. King in the civil rights movement, Mr. J.J. Lanier, and I said, our youth don't know these people. These people walk these same streets you walk every day, go to the same areas you go to, and they went there and partake there. And we research and talk about Dr. King and W.E.B. Du Bois and, Frederick Douglass and Harriet Tubman, and all of them are great. But I believe that you should be grateful for the people that have paved the way for you right where you are first. The charity starts at home and then go abroad. I'm a proud Black woman, and I love that about my heritage. So, African American Culture, Art, and History Center is socially accepted. What we do, our mission is to educate, document, and preserve Alamance County's African American history locally, regionally, and nationally. We know that it's important to have the exposure out the community to see what we have. We switch out these exhibitions every 2 months. Each exhibition is based on what our program is going to be. Like right now we got Gospel Legends, because our program for October 13 is recognizing Alamance County's Gospel Legends, locally, regionally, nationally. And it is a struggle bringing all of these things in, because every time we move these items, we run the risk of destroying or damaging one. We are the African American Cultural Arts and History Center. So with that being said, we're an educational component, goal-oriented for these youth in many areas. Yeah, I'm a founder of a museum. So you never know where your dreams are going to take you.